right, guys, welcome back to BDTR Live. And we got very special guest tonight, Phyllis Sapar. We try to promote the heck out of this because I think she's got a really interesting take on the way things were handled in her son's case. I think she's going to let us know a lot of things, definitely a lot of things that weren't covered by the media at all. And maybe if they came out at trial, you didn't read them in the paper. So, welcome, Phyllis. And I know you had sent me earlier an editorial you wanted to get published in the paper, and unfortunately, that didn't happen on
Right.
today. And the reason we picked today is because this is the fifth anniversary of when the shooting took place. So that's why we picked today.
Okay.
So if
Well,
you want,
thank you.
yeah, if you want to go ahead and start going through that and make some points, and I'll ask you some questions, and we will hopefully get some input from the folks in the chat too, if anybody's got any
Okay.
questions. So let's kick her off.
All righty. There it goes. I'm going to read the short one that I was going to put in the paper,
Okay.
but unfortunately they didn't put it in. Okay. It's Battle for Justice, July 26, 2018. My son, John Stiver, took 3 people to Sheets. A Clemens Sr. did a drug deal in Sheets. Johnny was unaware that Clemens was ripping off David Hoover and Mark A. Confrontations hours later in the passenger's alley. Mark A. had a gun. David Hoover had a bat. Clemens was out of Johnny's car, walking toward the house saying, "I have your money." Mark and David threatened my son. He and a young pastor retreated, and Mark and David chased them through Altoona at 80 miles per hour. Later that day, blocked in and threatened by David Hoover wielding a bat toward my son, it was self-defense. Mark and David planned and pursued with intent to hurt or worse. They were the aggressors. If Johnny hadn't shot David, I feel my son would have been lying on the ground that day. My son had no intention of hurting anyone. He asked me to send his condolences to the Hoover family. We all wish that day never happened. My son had a right to a fair trial, which was everything but fair. First, we were denied experts. 2 biased jurors were put back on a seat. One had Operation Our Town hoodie on. One said she had a meltdown, had to blow off steam, and didn't do well with millennials. The Commonwealth obtained discovery that they wanted for trial. The discovery not collected resulted in my son's conviction, plus other factors. The assistant DA's opening statement says Mark A. is no angel. It was Mark's quest for cocaine that day that got David Hoover killed. Mark A. has no charges. He was the Commonwealth's main witness. My son was sentenced murder first degree without parole. The appeals were denied. Thank you for reading my story. I just want my son to come home where he belongs. Thank you, Phyllis Sapar.
Okay, so the what Mark A, is that the cowboy guy that just got picked up?
No,
No.
that's not. It was the driver that wanted the cocaine from, he called Hoover to get the cocaine for
Okay.
him, for Mark A.
Okay.
Cowboy is the one that my son drove to Sheets that day that did the drug deal, and that was just in the newspaper with lacing a marijuana joint.
Okay. So when this started, basically I think the main difference between what you're saying and what the prosecution was trying to say was that Johnny was not aware any of this was going on, whereas the prosecution put it out to basically be like, well, he was in on it.
Right.
So they
Right.
tried to paint this picture that, and I think that's one of the biggest disqualifiers when that was their whole case of, well, it couldn't be self defense because he was engaged in illegal activity.
Exactly.
So,
And they also said that my son had Klonopins, and they have no physical proof. In
mhm.
fact, we have something that we really can't say right now about, but it's proof that my son did not do a drug deal. He was taking Cowboy to Sheets, which he
Mhm.
shouldn't have been running with that loser. I'm his mother, and that's how I feel,
Right.
But but he didn't ask to be chased around Altoona. He didn't ask to be threatened by a gun and a bat. And they kept saying there was no bat. I've been reading the court,
Mm-hmm.
and Mark Adams says that he gave Hoover his bat.
Mm-hmm.
It was Hoover's bat. It
Right.
wasn't Mark Adams' bat. Mark Adams had a gun. And Cowboy even said in a testimony that Mark had a sawed-off shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he claimed it was. I mean, it's a gun.
Well, and that's another question. So, are you did they show the shotgun at trial? Are you familiar with it at all?
Yes.
Is it a full size shotgun?
No, it's like an old.
Is it?
Well, it's full size. It's not sawed off. It's a regular shotgun.
Well, that's what I'm
Yes.
asking, because
Yes.
in this appeal, they had. Let me pull it up here just because I want to make sure I get the wording right.
Well, you look for that, if I may interject. Another
Mhm.
thing is, if it was truly a sawed-off shotgun, as they claim, that's an entire different charge as well. The minute you alter the barrel or stock of a
Well, yeah,
weapon in
whoever
general,
had the sawed off should have been charged. Absolutely.
exactly, that's a really big deal.
He
Allegedly.
wasn't charged with anything. He wasn't charged for the drug deal. He wasn't charged for threatening anyone. He acted like he was innocent, and he wasn't. He was the one that had the drug deal, made the drug deal to begin with, and he didn't get a thing.
Yes.
Because
Go ahead.
they were framing my son for first-degree murder.
Well, and so in this appeal, it says here, the Superior Court stated, at no time did Hoover enter the vehicle, attempt to enter the vehicle, nor remove Stiver from the vehicle. At no time did he threaten anyone, Hoover. So, and it goes
Right.
back to the thing of, okay, so he gets out of his baseball bat, and I'm going to show you guys, because I understand the audio is not the best from the surveillance tape. You can clearly hear people yelling, and after the shot's fired, you're going to hear that baseball bat hit the ground.
And also to anyone who would maybe want to re-watch and try to listen on their own time, this video is on YouTube, and we can leave a link below this.
Yeah,
way. If
we'll-
you want to try and hear it, he's going to try and narrate since the audio isn't the best, but we will leave a link this way. If you want to listen yourself, you're more than welcome to as well.
Yeah, and honestly, I would encourage you to, because if you can put headphones on even just to listen to it, it makes a difference. You can hear it, and I tried to clean it up a little bit. Honestly, it wasn't any better that way. So I figure I'm just going to play the original, because, if I try to enhance anything, they'll just, somehow put that.
They'll say it's fake.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So why even bother,
I also
right?
want to, yes, and I also want to let you know that 5 people have
Mhm.
listened to this tape, and before Johnny, they were arguing. Before the gun goes off, you can hear Johnny, not very clearly, but you can hear "stop or I'll shoot." You can
Mhm.
hear the shoot, but you have to listen really good.
Right. So
So he warned them.
right. Well, and honestly, if that, a lot of people think that's a requirement. If you're in fear for your life, you can use deadly force. It's not a requirement to plead with the person not to try and kill you first.
No.
It's
So-
not, but it's even
No,
more
but
proof if he is pleading with the guy that he obviously felt threatened.
And he's trying to
Right.
de-escalate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so this is my other thing, and the reason I brought up the shotgun, and I wanted to know whether it was full size or not, because according to this, it says, according to their narrative, Stiver backed up his vehicle and reached out the window with the 12 gauge shotgun and shot Hoover in the neck and chest. Now,
No.
I'm pretty good with guns, but I don't know if I could get a full size shotgun out the window and shoot somebody.
As
Right.
someone who is actually trained specifically with multiple different shotguns,
Yeah.
I'm telling you
Yeah.
that there's probably virtually no way he's going to do that without at least hurting himself, especially if you're shooting from within the vehicle. That sound alone, he would be deaf. The guy, anyone else in the vehicle
Right.
would be deaf. It would be an immediate, ouch, I shouldn't have done that. And not only
Right.
that, he would have never got it up to get it out the window to do that, especially at that
Right.
size.
And this man was coming toward him, and he wasn't stopping.
Mm-hmm.
And he was calling, like, he's saying, "Oh, get out of the car." I mean, I wish if I had one specialist that I could get, I'd want a specialist that was into sounds that could take that and let us know exactly what was said in that tape.
Right. Well, and part of the problem is the audio just, I mean,
Yeah.
those were my cameras. I know the audio is not the best, and the problem is when the original recording is just not the best, you can only do so much with it. So
Right.
whether or not somebody could have got more out of that, I don't know. The big problem is there's just always a lot of background noise, and you guys will be able to hear that and everything. But
Yes.
the other issue, big issue for me is, as far as I'm aware, because I think we did talk about this offline, my audio was the only one that was actually shown, or did they not show that?
Your audio, no, they never put it in the court.
So there was no actual video evidence that was submitted at the trial.
Okay, this is what I want to read to you.
Okay,
this is from the trial. Okay. The other video that they didn't take.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they said that your video let's see here. That the video surveillance obtained by, your home was provided by the Commonwealth to the defense during discovery, and it was corrupted. That you were making highly inflammatory comments related to the incident on social media, and that there was a joint decision made by the Commonwealth and the defense not to play your video to the jury during the trial. Now, why would they not want to play something?
What?
Oh, hold on. That's not grounds to admit evidence. Because they didn't like that you were saying something online, so now they're just going to throw away evidence?
That's what it says. I'm reading it right to you.
So because I said mean things that were likely true, they wouldn't admit freaking video evidence. Video evidence. You know why they wouldn't admit it? Because it showed them talking to the Bentons. It showed them talking to the Bentons. They had every opportunity to get the video, and you know what they told me? They told me. They said, no, we'll get a hold of you if we need it. And me being me, I'm like, well, no, you're going to take it today because I'm not waiting until you come back 6 months to a year from now. And then they'll try to charge me with something because, well, you mean it got recorded over? That's the kind of shit they pull. And they, I know Anastasi was riding the Bentons pretty hard and they weren't happy about it. And honestly, it wasn't their fault. They didn't keep a copy of anything, and I don't think anybody even tried to get their video until like a year later.
Right. So, and I mean, we didn't even know, I didn't even realize there was one, because I'm telling you what, I'd have went over and got it.
Yeah.
I truly would have.
Well, and the other thing is too, I know at least one of the houses across the street has cameras, and supposedly they had cameras on that alley, which would have been that 3rd Avenue alley. Which should have shown more. I mean, at the very least, if you're investigating a homicide, whether it's justifiable or not, and it's a shooting in a residential neighborhood, aren't you going to get all the camera footage you can? I mean,
the DA said that he collected all. Quote, the DA said that he collected all the video and surveillance tapes from that neighborhood. No, he didn't. No, they didn't. They did not get their video. The one that showed him getting a bat out of the car, the one that showed him welding it at my son, the one that showed the white car walking in the blue car, and the one that probably showed the white car leaving the scene. That's the one they didn't get. Oh, why wouldn't you want something like that? Yeah. Because it's going to blow up your case.
That doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. If you actually want to get to the bottom of what happened, then but that's just, I'm not surprised.
I'm disgusted.
But I mean, that should be a basis for appeal anyway. Well, we can't air this because how the fuck does my opinion have anything to do with my footage? Are they saying I falsely edited the footage or something? I gave them the clip that came right off the camera. I did nothing to it. Nothing to it.
They just said that because they didn't want that video in trial. They did not want it in trial.
Here's the problem. So they have my video. They don't use it. They come up with this bullshit excuse. And then they get this little animation or whatever allowed.
That was a joke.
Yeah. So basically, we're not going to get into the actual video. We're going to come up with this thing that pushes our narrative so we can convict this guy because we're pissed off that he killed a CI. Even though the CI was the one that escalated the whole thing.
Yes, absolutely. And another thing I wanted to tell you is the judge pulled out the GPA, or CGA. He pulled it out. He said they were going to use it. And then the DA threw a little fit and said, oh, no, you have to use it. We paid money for this, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Then the judge lets it back in and gives us a week to make our own when you were doing this for months. Yeah. And you want us to do in a little short time to get back and have it all done. Well, and they were taking the word of the person that wanted the cocaine that day. They took the whole story of him like he was this honest man, which I can prove he wasn't.
No.
And that's what they did to CGA. So it was a bunch of crap. It wasn't even what happened that day.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, my son had really.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, just because you have bad taste in friends or something doesn't mean you need to go to jail for first-degree murder either.
It shouldn't have.
Exactly.
What, do you lose your right to self-defense now because, your friend's an idiot?
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Well, he did realistically nothing wrong other than having, like, an idiot for a friend. Well, okay, who knows what reason this guy told him that he needed a ride to Sheetz. He was probably just trying to be a good friend, like, all right, man, I got a car, I'll take you down real quick, no big deal. Well, and it devolved into this. It would be no different than, like, if an Uber or a Lyft driver got somebody in their vehicle that was doing something nefarious. So, like, what? Are we getting nailed now?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, because I guarantee when I did Uber, I took people to drug houses more than once. Like you have random people going to the same house a certain time of day. It's like,
right.
But I don't give a shit. Yeah, like that's not my business. They're getting paid for a ride, or they're paying for a ride. Right. So
yeah. I took you to point A to point B safely, get the heck out of my car, take everything that you potentially brought with you in my car, and I don't want to see you again. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to think about it. Like,
yeah, I was honestly kind of surprised APD never really harassed me when I was doing Uber.
That is surprising.
They did. There was one guy one night that decided it would be a good idea. So there was this chick I picked up pretty often. I'm not even going to say where she lived because then they'll probably start trying to harass her. I don't even think she lives around here anymore. But anyway, she'd be drunk and she just wanted to talk or whatever. So we're parked. And the area where we're parked is along a public street. You can park there. This fucker pulls up behind me and gets out. Now, he's smart about it. He doesn't put his lights on or anything. So technically, it's not a traffic stop. So he's just coming up to harass me, So he comes up and, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing Uber. I'm dropping somebody off. What are you doing? And he's got to look at your inspection sticker. I said, I'm doing Uber, buddy. I wouldn't be able to do Uber if my inspection wasn't current. You have to send them proof of that.
They start harassing you 2 weeks before any of your documents are expired, like daily, like, hey, we need this updated.
I don't remember what the guy's name was or whatever, but I felt so bad for her because granted, she was drunk, but like she really got worried like she was in trouble. And I'm like, no, you're fine. And I waited there because I'm like, I'm not letting her get out of the car, and then he tries to pop her for a public drunkenness for walking from a car to her door or something, And it's just...
Right.
Yeah, everybody...
I actually, on that note, I actually had, again, I'm not going to name the gentleman, but I actually had a guy who'd had issues in the past with different law and whatnot, but, like, he pulled his life together, and as an adult had every right to go drink. He literally would ask me, I mean, this is a much older than I am, older gentleman, asking me, like, hey, I'm sorry to ask, but can you, like, literally just sit here until I make it to my door to make sure that they don't come around the corner and nail me because they just really don't like me at this point and want to throw me in? And I would. I'd sit there every single time. And after that, I sat there for every single customer because it changed my perspective. Like, what the heck is going on in this town that people are scared to get an Uber, the safest way to get home when you're drinking, and then to walk to their door? Like, that should be just, hey, get out, walk to your door. If you're stumbling, that should be a worry. But you shouldn't be afraid of the cops nailing you to walk to your door. I'm not originally from Altoona. I've lived close to Altoona my whole life, but I wasn't originally from there. So, like, the more I worked out too, I was like, oh my God, what is going on in this town? This is insanity.
No, I just can't.
Crazy.
I just can't believe the thing about that. That was their excuse, is because, he's an asshole. Well, when you know my history and everything that's gone down, I have every right to be an asshole.
Exactly.
Right.
So, I mean,
I understand.
You know what?
I know. I understand.
Yeah, if you don't want people to talk shit about your police department, don't have shitty cops. That's too easy.
Exactly.
Or if you do own up to the fact you have shitty cops and show that the public, like, hey, here's full transparency. We have a shitty cop. Here's what we're going to do about
All
it.
right.
Sorry, won't do it
We're
again.
just
We're off topic now.
We're gonna cut this tangent because we can go on about this for hours. So what I want to do now is I'm gonna bring up the video, and like I said, Phyllis, you probably won't be able to hear anything.
That's okay. I've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I'm sure you.
I know it's in it.
Yeah.
While this is playing, I'm actually going to find the video and attach it in the comments below on the Better Dead Than Red podcast comment section, and slowly afterwards I will attach it to anywhere else it's shared.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, I encourage everybody to get back, but I'm just going to go through it real quick. I think there's only about 45 seconds to a minute of this that's actually relevant because the rest of it is, like I said, it's the whole thing, shows from when that car drove by till them pulling up. I mean, I don't know what the hell more they wanted, but whatever. Here we go.
Shit.
White car comes past, goes down, stops at the stop sign, makes a right. Make a right. Yeah, he kind of pulls out a little bit of accelerated right there, I guess. I think that's the term they use for it. And this is where you just have to listen real close. Hear that?
That's definitely
baseball. Anybody that's played baseball knows that's a baseball bat. So if there's any argument that it would sound like whoever got shot had the baseball bat because when they got shot they dropped it. Was that in the animation or did they leave that part out?
Oh, they had it in there, but they had him walking like with the bat down, like real calmly, like he wasn't mad.
Hey, bro, want to go play baseball? Yeah, I'm sure.
Really? Yeah. Oh my! And the other video that they didn't get, it showed him unhinged. It showed his manner, his unhinged manner that he was coming toward my son. So yeah, they didn't want to get that video.
Yeah,
that would have threw their self-defense right out.
Well, like I said,
not self-defense.
Like I said too, they had those supposedly these ones in the alley. So I don't know if I don't know. It's just the whole thing is I'm still just kind of mind blown about the video thing. Like I know they used to talk a lot of shit, but I mean that's when you're dealing with a trial, it's not your feelings that are on trial, I object to this.
The evidence. Right. Just because they don't like you or you don't like that, who cares? This is a video. This is discovery that we needed to have.
Yep.
That we needed to know about.
Yeah. So, I'll look down through that appeal here too. But that's definitely the thing with the shotgun got me. And then this whole argument that he's laying in wait for him, like I don't know.
He pulled in.
Yeah. And that's part of honestly that's part of the castle doctrine. You have a right to be anywhere in a public place or anywhere that you have a right to be. You have a right to defend yourself. There's no duty to retreat.
Exactly.
So, I mean
and
go ahead.
They had I'm sorry. And one of the I don't know if it was in trial or whatever, but it said Mark A kept saying that he pulled in the alley and he was sitting in the alley. No, that's a lie because in the incident report there's a truck that went down through the alley. Okay, so Anastasiu said, how can you be sitting in the alley whenever the truck came through and seeing the white car blocking in the blue when it's right in the incident report? How can you be sitting in an alley? That's a lie. Okay,
right.
He left the scene because the white car, when a witness was talked to, she said a white car left the scene, but they didn't speed off, so they didn't think that it was involved in this, the incident. And here when this lady was asked, when you opened that door, when you heard that shot, was there a white car right there?
Mm-hmm.
They said, no, there was nobody but the body laying in the parking lot. There was nobody there. Okay, where'd the white car go?
Yeah, so it had to have been
Well,
as soon as it happened, he took off.
yes. And he went around the body. Who goes around your friend's body when he's shot? Don't you jump out and try to help him?
I mean,
I
you're
mean,
supposed
there's
to.
so
That should be instinct.
Yeah.
much. That'd be a normal person. I mean, has morals and values. I mean, come on. You're not just going to go around the body. Well, the reason why, in my opinion, he went around the body and he left. He hid the gun. His mother lived very close to that place. And did they search his car? Did they find a gun? No. Did they search his mother's house? No. Did they ping his phone? Because he was the one that wanted the cocaine to begin with. Did they ping his phone? No. Did they ping Hoover's? No. Did they ping Cowboys? Yes. In fact, they could have pinged my son's phone because they knew his number,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't.
Well, and that
So
was the
why
other
wasn't-
thing. Didn't she say too that the text messages between the two that were doing the drug deal, it was he used John's phone, but they knew
Yes.
that it was between the other two.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they used one text message, but they didn't use the two before that because they would have found out that it wasn't Johnny doing it.
So why didn't they go after the guy that actually is realistically at fault for all this crap? Because, like, they have so many charges they could hit him with. Like, it just popped in my head. Was it misuse of telecommunications or whatever? Like, for wrongfully using someone's phone to set this up? I'm sure they could stick that to him somehow. They do on every other case, it seems like, in the world. It's like, what's going on with this other guy that they want so vehemently to defend and keep him out of jail and paint him as a poster boy when your son was literally basically at the wrong place at the wrong time and then defended himself? Right. Why? Well, I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, and
Because
I think go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think we've pretty much established that there are some serious issues with this case. Even for somebody that would have thought he's 100% guilty, when you point some of this other stuff out, it's like there's some serious problems here, especially the video thing like that. I know that just really pisses me off, but and then you have the animation that takes the place. So not only do they neglect to get at least one, maybe two other videos, they don't show the one they have. They won't allow it. And then here's the real kicker. Can we talk about the prospect poll thing? You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I have to watch a little bit on that.
Okay.
But my son was helping a young person that was taken advantage of, and the same detective that was talking to my son said that he should be proud of himself, that he did a good thing, and this guy, it was bigger than Sandusky. And then shortly after that, he meets these people and everything happened.
So he was a witness in a very potentially significant case, because I remember this talk, and this granted was the rumor mill going around, but they were talking about, the feds and everything. And I mean, something big was going down. And then all of a sudden this happens, and all of a sudden, he's not a credible witness anymore.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And my son has never had a felon. Okay, he had every right to have that gun that day for his protection. Right. He really, truly did. And he got railroaded. He just, everything, it was, they chose their information they wanted. They neglected to say everything that would help my son prove that it was self-defense. But they didn't want that. They wanted the one that got the drugs, that was trying to get the drugs. They took his word on everything. I didn't leave the scene. No, I didn't leave the scene. Oh, yes, you did. There was proof that you did. But it was they told him what to say, and he said it. Did he get anything out of it? Absolutely not. Why? Because he said what they wanted to say.
Yep. Yeah, that's how it works. I've once seen a drug dealer, 9 felonies, got to plead to 9 felonies, got probation.
I'm saying.
I wonder why people are losing faith.
And you'd never believe
Yes.
who they were testifying against. Or I guess I should say testifying.
Yeah, testifying. Right.
That's what it is. No, that was at my trial. And it took a jury
Wow.
less than 10 minutes to find me not guilty. Consiglio was
Wow.
pissed. Oh, he was pissed.
I'll bet.
But
Wow.
yeah, but you know what? Sometimes when you play games and try and ruin people's lives, sometimes you lose. And I really hope Johnny's going to be able to figure something out because, like I said, anybody that looks at this case is going to see there was some things that were definitely done wrong. And I was a little disappointed with. See, here's the thing. I've never been a big fan of Anastasia. I think she knows this. All right, I can have complaints about her all day. However, right before she took John's case, she had this guy, Brandon Maybush. Now, he lost his case. Well, actually, I think he won. I'd have to go back and look. But basically, the outcome was actually pretty good as far as, potential outcomes go. And I told her, I thought you did a good job. And then this case comes up, and I just kind of feel like she dropped the ball on that one too. But that's just my opinion. But especially with the video stuff, I mean, I think
It's
that
unreal. It blows your mind that they didn't collect it when they said they collected all the evidence. And then I wanted to tell you when we went to see the videos, that they collected, supposedly, they wouldn't work. Oh, we can't get this to pull up. Oh, that don't work. Oh, how convenient. We didn't see the whole video of yours. We never got to see the whole video. It didn't work.
Well, and that's another thing people need to remember too is, even when the cops have body cameras and stuff, if you can get your own recording, get your own recording because it's funny how whenever the body cam backs up what they're saying, they can always find it. But when it backs up what you're saying, oh, we lost it or there's an error on the disc or, whatever.
They always conveniently lose it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just like the body or the dash cam that was inside Marquet's car. He had a dash cam in his car. It was his mother's car. It's in her name. He uses it. It's basically his car. It has a dash cam in it. So when we wanted to watch the dash cam, which would have showed everything that happened that day, oh, I didn't turn it on. I don't use it that much. I didn't turn it on. Bullshit.
Well, that
was
honestly
just,
with
that was his answer.
the dash cam stuff is because I actually had an issue one time where, and I'm not saying it is true or not, but I know for a fact that the fact that he didn't turn it on, I don't know. Usually what I see is every so often, I usually do mine about once a week because I've been running cameras in my car for a long time just because, go ahead and make up some bullshit. I got proof, So,
Exactly.
but plus there's just a lot of stupid drivers on the road and you catch a lot of good video. But yeah, you have to format the card every so often. And it's the same way with security systems too. A lot of people don't realize you got to constantly format that. Otherwise you get an error and basically you
didn't get it.
You think you're recording, but you're not. And then when you go and you need that video, it's not there or it's corrupted or whatever. But
so public service announcement, remember to format your cameras, whether it be your home security or your dash cams. Just,
and if you don't have home security or dash cams, get them.
Strongly recommend.
Yeah.
So
10 out of 10.
Yes. We have security.
So
another thing. Oh,
go ahead.
You can go first. I'm trying to find it here in the paperwork.
Okay. I was just going to ask, because you said you just got done talking to Johnny. How is he doing?
He's doing okay. We're still got hopes that, something has to turn good in this case. We do have something being looked at and it's definitely good. It tells the truth,
Right.
But they keep taking the 95-page brief that the judge put in. Okay. He makes Cowboy in his car. I can't quote how many times he put Johnny in his car. Cowboy in Johnny's car. The reason why that was wrote that way, along with a script. My son had a script. My son didn't have a script with bullet pen. That's a lie. Okay. Right. So that's in there. Okay, so now they're making my son look like this drug dealer, like this bad person. Okay, and they said that he texted them, blah blah blah, all this that. Well, I know for a fact that that wasn't my son on that text, but they used it for trial to make my son look bad again. Like, this is a drug dealer, you know. I mean, come on. A man got shot because it was self-defense. He chased my son that day. He chased him through Altoona, and they claimed that Cowboy got picked up on the side. Let me tell you, I know my son. When he's off and he's trying to get away from somebody, he's not slowing down. And they said that he came out and he made a right, and then they claimed that he went right, but he went straight. Johnny said, Mom, I went straight. He said, and if they would have looked at those cameras that they have everywhere, we could have proved it that I went straight. I did not go back to pick up Cowboy. And if I did, why was I calling to find out if he was all right? If I picked him up, he'd have been in my car.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if they spent half the amount of time that they did basically railroading your son for no reason on actually catching the real problems, Altoona would be a much, much, much better place.
Well, the other thing is, too, I mean, I've been saying for years, the way they run that stupid CI program, sooner or later somebody's going to get killed. It's, it's not going to happen every day because Altoona's not, you know, there's not really any real gangsters here or anything that are going to do anything. But, you know, sooner or later it was going to happen, and it did happen. And just like always, it's, you know, the CI is basically the little angel. Yeah, he didn't threaten anybody. He just wanted to go play ball. And it's just such a stupid argument, but.
It is. And then in the witness statement, it says that the kids were playing basketball and heard arguing and screaming, and then they heard a shot. So right there is another incident that it proves there was yelling and screaming.
Yep.
That, yeah, but did they bring that witness in? No. You know, everything that could have helped my son in that trial was jeopardized. They left this guy that was going to testify, because he heard Hoover called him on the phone and said, I've seen a blue car at your house, my son's. And they called him Jerry. They didn't even know who he was. Okay. They didn't know his name. And he said, we have a bat. Me and my buddy has a bat and a gun. And someone's going down today. What's that mean?
Yeah.
They're going to hurt someone. And it was my son. Yeah. And he didn't even rip them off. It was Cowboy that ripped them off. And in Cowboy's statement, it says, I took the $250 because Hoover ripped them off before in his house or something, some ordeal that he took money off Cowboy. So Cowboy was getting his money back. That's what it was all about. And if you think Cowboy's going to give Johnny $250, you're crazy. You know, he's just not that person, and you know how he is.
Yeah.
So, but Johnny got charged for $250. He got charged with the theft. Can you believe it?
I want to personally know what the hell all these cops were smoking when they came up with these charges and skewed this the way they did. Because I honestly, to be completely honest with you, I didn't read any of this. I wasn't very familiar with this case at all. I tried to go in as blind to most of these as I can to offer like a complete outsider perspective on this.
Right.
I'm even over here like, what? I think anyone with like a single brain cell bouncing around in their head's going to look at this case and be like, none of this makes sense. Johnny's innocent and just was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well,
and he was defending himself.
Another thing, because, and there's a lot of all over, I mean, how many other states and just other places, you know, you can watch the trials on TV. You can get clips from trials. I watch trials of stuff on YouTube all the time just because I think it's interesting. And but for some reason, Blair County's super against, you know, nothing. And it's anybody from the public can walk in there and watch the trial. So why the hell can't it be televised? You know, because I think if people could see how these trials and shit actually go, it would be very eye opening for a lot of people.
I think it would be too.
I honestly, I 100% agree on that. My father, like I said, he did 32 years of law enforcement when we were talking earlier, and even as early as 13, even though he wasn't necessarily a cop, so to speak, at that point, there were times where he would have to come in to testify to different things. he would let me sit in the back of the courtroom just to see how it went. From anything as minor as a
Right.
traffic ticket to something as major as I really don't want to disclose on here, to be honest. But he always made sure I sat there and listened to see how this went, to understand how the system worked, and to question things. When you hear something that doesn't sound right or something doesn't add up right, question it.
It
You know,
really
don't
doesn't.
just blindly believe it, you would think. And I feel like that should be a
Right.
thing for more people to have access to watch how these go down, to see, to think on their own instead of just taking what's told of them at face value. As, oh, this is true, this person is guilty of this XYZ.
Yeah.
No, let me sit in. I want to hear all the testimony. I want to hear the evidence. Like, let me sit and think and make my own decision. Because anyone, like I said, with half a brain cell would hear this case and be like, he's innocent. Why are we wasting time here? Let the poor man go home.
Well, and that's the whole
Exactly.
thing of, innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And when you're talking about taking somebody, either just somebody's rights away or taking their freedom away, sending them to prison, I don't think a lot of juries take this shit as seriously as they need to either, because that's literally another person's life is in your hands. So you better make damn
Exactly.
sure you're making the right decision, you know?
And like the one podcast I listened to, burden of proof. And what's the
Mhm.
other one? There's two things that a juror has to prove on to sentence somebody for guilty. And
Mhm.
they didn't have any of that for my son. And in fact, I have to read you something real quick. It's first degree murder under the law.
Mhm.
It involves any intentional murder that is willful and premeditated with malice aforethought. Meditated requires that a defendant planned the murder before it was committed or lying in wait for the victim.
Mhm.
The DA claimed that my son, Johnny, was lying in wait for parking lot. If you're lying in wait for a person, don't you think you would back in, not pull in? My son pulled in the parking lot that day. He did not back in. John Stiver was not lying in wait for Mark A. or David Hoover. They were the aggressors. They had the plan that day. They had a commitment to hurt somebody that day. My son didn't, but he's the only one sitting in jail, except for Cowboy for doing the shit he just did, and he's sitting in jail.
Yeah.
And probably because he didn't sit when he should have, that he got away with or did. I'm not familiar with this case either, but that's the other thing. Because we keep accusing the wrong people and locking up the wrong people, these that are actually committing atrocities to whatever degree are still out and about walking around doing it. And then everyone's like, oh my
And
gosh, they did it again. Oh my goodness. Thank God they finally caught them. We've known. We've known. We tried to
yeah,
tell you. It's been clear, black and white in front of you, and you just let these people walk to continue to keep doing the same thing. Like, how many people have to be victimized before they finally say, okay, maybe this was a bad idea. We should stop them?
Well, and the
yes,
big kicker here is by doing what they did to him, they now take him out as a witness. And as far as I'm aware, that other case, the prospect pool stuff, was basically
yes,
nothing's going to happen with it. So,
Disgusting.
you have actual predators, because let's be honest,
you
like,
do.
a CI gets shot, I don't really give a shit. All right. But
Right.
if we could actually
No,
be,
I mean, I don't care if anyone gets shot, but still, I mean, it wasn't intended. He didn't intend to shoot him,
well,
you know?
when you get out of your car with a baseball bat and threaten somebody, and you brought a baseball bat to a gunfight, sorry about your luck, buddy. That's just how I look at it. And I don't feel sorry for him because, and like you said, Johnny wasn't the one that ripped them off. They got the wrong guy.
No,
They got the wrong guy,
exactly.
and
He was probably confused as hell as what was even going on. Oh, I gave a guy a red sheets and now I'm getting chased around Altoona and this guy's trying to hurt
Yep.
me. Seriously hurt me. Like,
And
what
he
did I
told
do?
him in the alley. Yeah,
Well,
and he told him in the alley the first time when they pulled in the alley, they pulled in the middle of the alley. They didn't pull on the sides, so someone get through. They kind of like blocked that side of the alley. So Johnny had to back up and get out the first time he retrieved. And
right.
Johnny told him, I have nothing to do with this. Go find Cowboy, you know?
Yeah, it's unreal. But like I said, because and I know if that guy wasn't an informant, this would have played out differently. I guarantee it.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah.
the fact was, they had to punish him because it was a CI. It wasn't because somebody was dead. It was because it was a CI. Because they didn't even
Yes.
really want to talk about that at first, and that got out pretty quick, and I think they were pissed about it too. That's probably what they were talking about, because I said mean
Right.
things and was like, that was probably the mean thing I said. It was like, well, when a CI has a baseball bat and goes after somebody and they get shot, I don't feel bad for him. I'm consistent.
Huh?
My opinion hasn't changed
Right.
on that. That was before I
I
even knew
know.
all of this. So,
Right. And Mark A had a gun
hmm
because when my son's passenger was in court, he was he was so scared to testify. He was
hmm
afraid he was going to go to jail because, hey, you come in and testify against somebody the police don't want you to, well, then you're in trouble.
yeah,
They can, hey, you got this, we're going to do this, and then make people change their mind, and that's how people change the stories. But he sat there and he said, the DA came like sideways, like gangster, like, oh, he was coming at you like a gun like this. And he was talking about Mark A. And he said, no. He said he was coming straight at us. And he said he was going to shoot. He was going to shoot us.
hmm
And he even said if Johnny wouldn't have shot that day, they probably both would have been dead. And that's
right,
how this kid felt because he was scared. Johnny was scared. And when he went to get away from them the first time, he went to his friend's apartment. My middle son was there, and he said, Mom, I've never seen Johnny so scared in his life. He thought he was going to die. He said these men were chasing him. They had a gun in a bat, and he thought he was going to die that day. And, Brad said, I've never seen my brother so scared in his life. But
And he
my
shouldn't
son
have.
didn't
He
get to
shouldn't have had to
testify.
be afraid.
no,
He shouldn't. No. I mean, like my son said, Mom, do you know how many people, I mean, not now, apparently, because he's incarcerated, but he said, you know how many people I have lent like $300 or $400 if I got my income tax, and they never gave it back to me. But did I go around chasing them with a bat and a ball bat and gun and ball bat? I'm gonna, kill you or I'm gonna hurt you or whatever. He said, I just, didn't lend them no more money. He
well,
said,
and
and I never.
that's the other thing with the CI thing too. I don't know how many stories there are of a CI assaults somebody or does something and they charge the victim because you can't have the
Right,
CI have charges because then they lose their credibility and they can't prosecute those drug cases then.
exactly.
It's bullshit.
And you know what I want to know? I want to know how long it's going to take Cowboy to get out of jail at $100,000 bond. Now he don't have $10,000.
Right.
He's got out before on a $100,000 bond. How did he get out? He don't have money, so how did he get out? Someone's paying for him to get out.
Well, that or he calls Moser up and hey, I'll go rat these 3 people out. I mean that's a real
You
thing
said
that
it.
happens too.
Yeah, it's
I
slightly
believe it
slightly
too.
off topic, but on the note of like crazy crap, because this story just keeps popping in my head. I had a friend from in Hollidaysburg years back, to where they literally, while she was pregnant, keep in mind, like 8 months pregnant, ready to have her second child, keep in mind, where they showed up at her and her boyfriend's apartment, threw her in jail, and basically bullied her into pleading to a felony over having allegedly an eighth of marijuana. When they
Oh,
literally had no pictures, no evidence, they got her name from the mail, admitted they went through the mailbox to get the name even, threw
jeez.
her in for 72 hours without even shoes in E-Block, and bullied her to
Wow.
bully her into pleading to let this poor girl out when they had nothing. All they had was the word of a CI that said that he bought, what was it, twice from these two, allegedly. And not even from her, but from her boyfriend.
Wow.
Bought twice, allegedly. Just because this CI said that they tortured this poor girl, basically. Because afterwards,
Oh
she
God.
told me what happened. I was like, you didn't plead to that, right? Because you were obviously innocent. She's like, well, I was scared and they weren't going to let me out. And I'm due any day now. And, with them leering at me
Mm.
through the bars, I was just too scared. And she didn't know any better.
Oh my God.
So,
Oh.
and honestly, like, this is the first I've had a chance to talk about this case. And again, I'm not going to get into who it was. I'm glad to hear that
Right.
she's done well since this has happened. But, like,
Oh
again,
God.
why are they willing to go to such bitter extremes believing these CIs when they have obvious innocent people that are facing consequences of stuff that they didn't even do? Like, why are we
Right.
punishing the innocent and like propping up the CIs like they're God's greatest gift to man?
Exactly.
Well,
And if they would take these,
it's a propaganda thing because and they don't do it so much anymore, but back when they used to do, they'd do this year-long drug investigation and arrest 70 people all one day and make it, and they're all a bunch of
Mhm.
junkies basically. They're never getting any of the dealers. And then you have the CIs that are still allowed to do drugs. So guess who they're never going to turn in? Their actual dealer, because they still
Exactly.
want their fix. So it's like, come on now.
But we're
Yeah.
helping.
Yeah.
You know what's really sad is people that are normal people that get involved, unfortunately, in drugs, and here maybe they be hooked on them, and they're so desperate to get them that they'll turn other people in to get the money so they can do drugs.
Yep.
And they're not, and they let them have the drugs and do whatever as long as they get somebody in return.
Yep.
And that's what's sad,
And
because they should be helping these people with drug problems.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This has been going on for years, and the problem just keeps getting worse.
Yeah,
and
they're
then
not helping these people. They're all but enabling them.
no, and I remember me and Delta Lima did a podcast. This was probably over a year ago about this article comes out, and it's basically Pete Weeks is saying, well, it's we just don't have enough money, that's why. And it's like, well, maybe your whole approach to it is wrong, and just sucks.
Right.
But once again, we got to keep. I'm the crazy one, but they're the ones that keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right.
I think we should send them a dictionary.
Oh, I actually wrote a letter to Pete.
Yeah.
But because he always said, he said to someone that if my son could prove his innocence, if, like he would find out that there was neglect. Well, come on. It's neglect when you don't take a video from that shows the victim or the one that got shot coming out and getting a bat. That is evidence. And I mean, if that doesn't prove that it was self-defense, I don't know what does.
Well,
I just don't know.
The biggest argument I thought, and I'm almost positive I had communicated this to the attorney before the trial, that the issue was they let evidence spoil, that being the videos.
Right.
And not only did they leave those spoil, which I don't know. I didn't see the Bentons. I don't know what all was on there. I know the other neighbors across the street had footage. It should have shown. I don't know what would have been on the video, but I do know they purposely did not get the videos, but yet they have this animation that gets allowed that pushes the narrative that they want to push. And I think that should be grounds for an appeal right there, because how do you let that much potential exculpatory evidence? Because you can't say it was or it wasn't. You can just say they definitely didn't get it.
Exactly.
So.
And that's the reason why my son's in jail right now, because and every single the witnesses that we had, okay, all of a sudden, oh, they're gonna be for their side. Come on, people. It was in the incident report. You seen the white car blocking in a blue car. Okay. What's different about how can you change that story? How can you say you didn't see that when you did? In the white car leaving the scene. It's in the incident report. How can you say Mark didn't leave the scene? Because it's in the incident report from a bystander that she don't have anything to lose for this or gain for this. And the white car did leave the area. So, I mean, because there was a bat and a gun, I mean, the police should have found that gun. There was a bat and a gun. But they took the words from the guy that wanted the drugs. Come on, really?
Right. Well, the other thing is too, so they tried really hard to just like suppress the gun and kind of pretend like that never happened. But
exactly.
My argument to that is say, okay, fine, forget about the gun. A baseball bat's still a deadly weapon. Yep. He was still arguing with them, coming after him with a base. The gun doesn't matter. It doesn't make it more or less, so that, you know what, let him have that one. Fine, no gun. Baseball bat.
Right.
He knew what he was there to do, and it wasn't to go play ball. So
exactly.
And I've talked to a lot of former cops about this issue, and they all agree. Yeah, somebody's coming after me with a baseball bat, I'm going to shoot them.
I can back that up even more. Again, back to my father, 32 years of different kinds of law enforcement. every year for the last part of his career, he would have to go in for new training on different laws for guns, of when it's appropriate to pull your weapon and whatnot. And literally, all the scenarios say if you have someone walking at you with a ball bat with intent,
Mhm.
the minute they come at you and you try and just like stop, they aren't stopping. They are allowed to use lethal force. They're not recommended to tase, not recommended to spray them. They're told that you are allowed to use lethal force because they're coming at you with a ball bat.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with even in the YouTube video, you can hear how aggressive that it was getting a little bit there. Clearly,
Oh
there
my
was an
gosh,
argument. Sorry, someone comes at me with any kind of a look on their face, a raised voice, and they got a bat in their hand. I'm assuming you're coming to hurt me.
Well, and that's the other thing
Exactly.
too. That's the one thing you can deduct from the video is, like it always does, that stuff, happens quick as shit. It goes from 0 to 100 real fast. And it's
Right.
funny how, if you're, and I look at all the shootings all the same, whether it's police, private citizens, whatever. Like there's just, I've been pretty clear on my stance on what happened to Rhonda Russell, whereas, well, I thought the whole deal was when you pull the trigger, you're responsible for where the bullets go, but apparently that's not a thing anymore.
Wow.
But like with this
That's a shame.
case, if that guy with the ball bat was going after a police officer, nobody even would have questioned that.
No, they wouldn't have blinked an
No,
eye.
they would not.
They'd have
But
been like, good for getting them, as you should. Good job.
and
Yep.
that's why they got to smear John and be like, oh, he's helping with the drug deal. He's doing this. He was doing that. Well, guess what? By the time this all went down, there were no drugs
Right.
involved.
No.
So even if they want to make that argument, so what? If you break one law, you lose your right to self-defense. Like, is that what, for an hour, 8 hours, 12 hours? How, that's,
Exactly.
but
And when Cowboy got out of Johnny's car, this is what Anastasia tried to argue, and she was right. When Cowboy got out of Johnny's car, the commission of the crime between Mark Gay and David Hoover and him was over. When he stepped out of my son's car, my son had him out of the car. He was now not involved in the commission of the crime.
right. Yeah, I'm
But,
surprised
like,
they weren't
that's
able
why-
to have, they really shouldn't even been able to talk about the drug deal, because the issue wasn't even why, the issue was, did he defend himself or not?
Right.
The
It
drug
didn't
thing
matter
didn't,
what led up to the self-defense, so to
if
speak.
the drug thing really just makes Hoover look worse because it gives him a motive to be there and want to kill him.
Yeah, well, he was unhinged. And they even said in the report that he took pills. He had the pills and he took them and asked the other guy if he wanted them, and he said no. Now, how true that is too, I don't know, because I don't
Yeah.
believe a word he says.
I mean, the
know,
fact that
and
he even
then,
admitted
okay,
that
so
somebody
now
took
they're-
pills and offered tells me something's wrong with that story.
I'm telling you, it's like, I know this story blows your mind. And then in court, I mean, we weren't allowed to have any experts, not one. We had to use their experts. And this one guy, he had this southern voice, and he was like making jokes and stuff. This is my son's trial. It's not
Yeah.
a joke. It's his life. And then when the jury, the one guy in the jury had his fingers in his ears. How is he a legit juror? He held his fingers in his ears.
Honestly, I don't have a lot of
And-
faith that there's a lot of legit jurors to begin with because of just how I've seen the application go recently.
Well,
when I had a friend get one.
So here's the thing, and in their defense, jury duty does kind of suck. Okay, you usually
Sure.
have to take off work. They pay you what, like $9 a day or something. It might be a
Yeah,
little bit
not
more
much.
than that. It's not much, so nobody wants to be there.
No.
You come in,
Right.
you're gonna look at that person sitting in the defendant's chair and figure, well, you're probably here. You might not be guilty of everything, but there's probably something going on here. So
Right.
there's no way that a human being is going to come into that situation, sit in the jury chair, and not be at least mildly biased.
Exactly.
Okay, it's human nature.
Right.
And then, especially when they just keep hammering with drug deal, gun, shot somebody, guy wasn't a threat at all. They keep,
Keywords, key flashy words to catch their attention and misdirect them off of what's actually been
and
going on.
they just want to get to 4 o'clock and get the hell out of there. And
Yes.
now I'm sure not everyone's like that. Obviously, there have been a lot of great juries in the past that have read through bullshit, but you never know what a jury's going to do. That's the kicker. It doesn't matter how good or bad your case is. You never know what they're going to do, and it's entirely up to them.
Well, it was only 45 minutes till they just came to the decision, and they came in and asked the judge. They mark all the boxes. Can they go home? They were worried about going home. It was Friday night.
Y-
You know, they
Yeah.
wanted to get out of there and go party the weekend, whatever, have their weekend. And they decided to first degree murder, send him away, life without parole. And they didn't care. 45 minutes to send my son to prison for the rest of his life. And
How is that even legal that they can make a determination that quickly? I feel like there should be something in there, like you actually have to, take more than 30 seconds to read over and think about what's been being said.
exactly.
Yeah. Did
Yes.
they even ask the judge any questions or anything?
Other than if they
Well,
checked
the
all the
judge
boxes,
was
apparently.
actually, yeah, they asked if they checked them all. Judge said, yeah, okay,
Wow.
you can go home. I mean, those people couldn't wait to get out of there. But
Yeah.
not all. There was a person that was at a beauty shop that said she thought my son was self-defense. But everyone was trying to get home, and who's to say what they were saying to her? If they were like, we're gonna leave, and you're gonna start, you don't know what happened in that jury box.
Hmm.
You have no clue. And because this person did think he was self-defense, I mean, there was probably other people sitting there thinking it was self-defense, but because the other ones, it was kind of like a bullying situation.
That's what I
Like
was
the
just
whole
thinking.
court, it was kind of like, I think that Anastasia got bullied by the DA. And I mean, I just feel that, I don't think my son had a fair trial. I don't think he had fair of anything because there he is, and it just sucks.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
I'm sure there's going to be a million things once I hang up here. I said, why didn't I say this?
Well, what I'm thinking is, if you got
hmm
basically just make a closing statement, and then if you want to give his mailing address, so if anybody, I'm sure some people will probably want to send him mail, send him letters, whatever. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
And if
Oh,
you
he
could,
would.
please leave it in the comments below the Better Dead Than Red so I can
Yeah.
copy and paste it to the other pages that this has been shared to. This
Okay.
way I have it with the YouTube video. I didn't
Okay.
actually get that pinned.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it in. You mean I don't have it with me right now, his address, but I will put it
Just
in.
whenever you get a chance, either
comments.
message it to the
Okay.
page or put it in the comment section. Just let us know
Okay.
when it's where, and we'll make sure to put it back out there again. This way, if anyone is listening or does listen in and is looking forward to seeing or getting that information, we can make sure it gets to the right people.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I mean, it's like I said, we did this for the 5th anniversary, so hopefully you'll have some better news by the 6th one.
Oh, I hope so. I hope he's home. I just hope he's home where he belongs. I mean, we miss him all the time.
Hmm.
Birthday parties, he went to birthday parties, anniversaries, anything that was, family, he was there. And
Right.
we all miss him a lot. And it's not fair that he didn't have a fair trial. It's really not fair. And I just hope and pray that someday we're gonna have some good news and he's coming home.
We'll definitely pray for you, and we'll definitely pray for Johnny as well. And thank you for coming on here to share with us. I can imagine it has to be very difficult to talk about this at length, especially over a live or any kind of thing. So thank you so much for coming on and being willing to share this with us. And please let Johnny know next time you talk to him before we get the address that we are thinking about him and wishing him the best. And we still are holding out the hope that justice finally gets seen to be true and he can come home
Yes.
very soon to everyone.
Thank you.
You're
I appreciate you having me on.
Yep. Anytime. Have a good night, and if let me know if you get any updates or anything, and we'll have you back on,
I
and
will.
we'll go from there. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. We'll
You have a
talk to
good
you later.
evening.
You
You
too.
as well.
All right. Bye-bye.
My heart really breaks for her. That's awful.
Yeah. I still can't believe the damn video. Like, really?
I'm still hung up on that as well a little bit too. That is absolutely ridiculous. So what? So if somebody says something mean on the internet, they're just gonna admit evidence?
Well, I mean, it's almost like now before they take your footage, they better call you an interview. Like, well, you never had bad experience with the cops, right? Because we can't put this footage in. Then
It's ridiculous because it's not like you doctored the footage. Like it's on YouTube exactly what you caught off the camera. You can clearly see nothing's been changed.
That's why I did what I did, because that was that camera that had the. So those cameras, my ones that I've had a couple camera systems. All right, I've been doing the camera thing for a while. I've had like 3 dash cams and 2 or 3 different home systems. But that one I had at that time that did audio, it actually had the SD card was actually in the camera. So you actually had to like take it out of the camera to be able to get the video or whatever. So I went home and did that and swapped SD cards, because obviously the cops were still out there and stuff, and I didn't know if anything else was going to happen. So I just wanted to make sure everything was still on. And so as I'm looking through the one, and I can't remember if it was like an hour-long clip or whatever the clip is. It might have been 15 minutes. I don't remember. The YouTube one, actually, there might have been some cut off, but it wouldn't have been anything. Like I showed you basically the relevant part to the shooting. That is what it is. But whatever the length was, whether it's 15, 30 an hour, whatever it was, that's what I put on the SD card and I gave to them. So nothing was changed, nothing was doctored. So if that was their argument, that's a pretty stupid one. And they should be able to tell by looking at the metadata and everything anyhow. But the whole point was they didn't want any of them fucking videos. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know. Anybody doing anything in the comments? I didn't look.
I'm trying to keep up right now. Sorry guys, I'm bouncing back and forth between the 2 pages trying to keep up with the comments. So if we don't reply right away, we're not ignoring you. I just haven't seen it yet. And unfortunately, my phone likes to be really, really slow. So please bear with me. I will get back to everyone to the quickest of my ability. If I don't during the show, it will be after. You are heard. We do see you. We do appreciate all of you for tuning in. Just please bear with us while we're still kind of new to this podcast thing. At least I am, and figuring out how to keep up with the media side of it. I'm doing my best, I promise.
Yeah, I guess we can take a few calls if anybody wants to call in, talk about Stiver or whatever's on your mind. I hope he definitely makes out there, because that case is just so
bullshit from start to back.
Yeah, it's just beyond ridiculous. But I mean, it's far from the only one too. There's plenty of them that are questionable. So and the dog's having fun over there, jumping around.
I thought I heard her. Just try not to look over this time and like be super obnoxious about it.
Yeah, because and if you look too, there's another one on the YouTube page that's just called Original Ashley Day Footage, and that basically, I think that was one of the other things. I don't remember if Phyllis mentioned it or not, but basically they had claimed that they never even talked to my neighbors, the Bettons. So it was obviously bullshit, because when Miller looked at my footage, he went right over and looked at theirs. They told them the same thing they told me, we'll get a hold of you if we decide that we want it, basically. And I said, no, you're just going to take the flash drive with you. So I don't know. I guess there'd be like a 1% chance that something was wrong with the flash drive. But, if that was the case, then why the hell didn't they ask me for another copy of it? It's just, I don't know. It's ridiculous. What are you doing?
Dad.
Yeah.
Dad, you've been ignoring me for too long.
Well,
Dad.
the dog knows the podcast is supposed to be like an hour and we're a couple minutes over, so she's not happy. It's not the routine.
I need all the pets, Dad. I demand the pets. She's an old girl. She's a good girl, but yeah, she's very much a routine doggo.
Yeah. So.
Dad, I missed you all day. I demand all the love and attention.
All right. Well, if we're not going to get any calls in tonight, which that's fine. I don't know how it blew up the way it did last time. I was like worried. I'm like, how the hell we're going to keep up? Because it was like boom, boom, boom. So
I brought a pad and paper this time to try and keep up. I mean, we never know what to expect at this point.
All right. So we will be back Saturday. We're not 100% sure what we're going to run with there. So I will put the event up whenever we figure that out. Probably should be at least a day in advance or whatever. But just so you guys know, we plan on being every Wednesday and Saturday night at 8. that's when the live will kick off. So you want to get in there, get in the comments, call in, whatever. You know what to do. So,
And hopefully by Saturday, I've been honestly slacking. I have the salamander designs ready for you all. I really do. And hopefully by Saturday, I'll have at least a few of them scanned and ready to go to present to you all the beautiful animated salamanders. And we'll be able to get you all some more information about where, if you are interested in getting said salamander items.
yeah.
So exciting stuff coming
By
in
the way,
August.
we're, purposely kind of in and out of uniform for a certain reason. So hopefully our biggest fans out there tonight kind of disappointed she didn't call in, but whatever.
Me too, honestly. I'm really, really trying to have an actual conversation.
I don't think it's physically possible.
It's not. But on that note, if you know who we're talking about, there's something that I would like to discuss next Saturday to kind of leave some suspense in the air.
That'll be a good
To go
one.
over why exactly I looked so rough last weekend. Because I'll be honest, I know I did. I'm sure some of you noticed. So if any of you are interested, we'll be getting into that on next Saturday's podcast here as to what was actually going on.
This coming
this
Saturday, like
I can't keep the day
three
straight.
three
like I'm
days
talking.
from 3 days from now, guys. So, all right. Well, I think that's all we got for you tonight. So, until next time.